This is the Wally and Methot Show live. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Mark Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally Methot Show live. What a busy day, Meth, we have for you. I'm Brent Wallace. He's Mark Methot. The Methernet has been activated. It looks like it's going to work today, so that's a bonus, eh, Meth? Just a reminder, this show is brought to you by Whitewater Brewery. Don't forget, shop whitewater.ca. Get 15% off. Use the Wally Methot coupon code. Lots of great things for you to pick up, including some fantastic Farmer's Daughter beer and all those other great products they have. And if you need it in time for Christmas, go to the LCBO and pick some up. But who doesn't love a good Santa, beer Santa, as we like to call it, delivery? Anyway, Meth, so much going on today. Lots to talk about. Before we get to who's all in the show, I want to know if you need to move. I'm worried about your neighborhood and vandalism that's currently taking place out in front of your house with your with your little guy that you're telling everybody to slow down. This is so good. I appreciate this. Yeah.
I mean, I had a laugh. I was obviously joking when I posted it. I don't mind that stuff. It's fun. But I mean, I've been removed now from the NHL for several years, so it's time for people to cut the cord.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I just appreciate it. I just find this humor is so good. So whoever did it, I totally am on board with all this. All right. So we've got a jam-packed show, all because Kevin Bieksa just decided he was going to say a lot of stuff on Hockey Night on Saturday. So coming up first, we're going to have Bob McKenzie. The Bob father is now in the show. He's now a booze mogul. There he is, Bobby Margarita. I love these graphics. Anyway, good job, Alex. Also coming up later in the show, we've got Mason McTavish and a special guest appearance by Connor Bedard as they were quarantining in Alberta as they get set for the World Juniors and Team Canada. And of course, Kevin Bieksa is coming up after Bob. But let's not waste any more time and get right to it, shall we? Bob McKenzie, now with a return guest appearance on our show. We must be doing something right to have the big man himself. Bobby Margarita, how are you?
You've fully enhanced your production value since the last time. Nice opening. It seems like a real show. And what a lineup. I mean, I honestly have never felt more like a warm-up band. I think you gave me instructions. Play 2 songs, sell 2 margaritas, get off. We've got Juice coming up. We got Bieksa coming on. The Sens faithful want you guys to have at him. So yeah, I just feel like, hey, I'm here to sell a couple of margaritas, have a few laughs, but yeah, Sens Nation's on fire right now.
We spare no expense when it comes to putting a show together for you. I just want to say that. Now, the Bobby Margarita thing has gone over extremely well, so it seems. Can you take us through how this all came about? I know after the end of each season, you just called yourself Bobby Margarita, went to the cottage, put your feet up, and drank away. And the can looks very good. So are you surprised at how successful the launch has been?
Well, it's only been a really limited launch. It's only available in Alberta right now. And actually, it was supposed to be January 1 for Nova Scotia, but I think the next day or two, they're going to start getting them prior to Christmas, so early Christmas gift for the folks in Nova Scotia. You know what? It's a little bit of a lark. I never ever planned on doing this, and you're right, Brent. It was always just a running joke. Starting 5 years ago, I bought a margarita machine, and I'd fire it up in the summer and changed my Twitter handle to Bobby Margarita, and it kind of caught on, and I leaned into it, and other people leaned into it, and so it became a little bit of a persona. And a lot of people started calling me that, even quite a year or two ago, I'd break a story or say something on social media and people would respond with Bobby Margarita. I didn't even mention the Bobby Margarita thing. So we kind of had a persona and a brand before we had a product. And then it was a little bit of serendipity. A guy from the Ace Beverage Company who knew my son Sean from their days back in London. The guy's name's Brock James. Meth probably knows him. He used to be a beer salesman in London, and now he works for the Ace Beverage Company. And he was going to just send some product to Sean about Ace Hill Mexican Lager. Just post something if you like it. And Sean said, hey, me and my dad talked before about maybe we should actually do it, a legitimate Bobby Margarita. And he goes, yeah, great idea. And that was in March, and it kind of took off. And here we are 9 months later, and it's going to be in the LCBO in Ontario. It's going to be in Saskatchewan and Prince Edward Island in April. LCBO in April, Saskatchewan and PEI at the same time. as I said, Nova Scotia now, Alberta. We're going to roll it out as best we can all across the country sooner or later. So it's been a lot of fun.
How much drinking of these have you done in order to get the taste right?
We did a lot of tasting panels, and that was the important thing for me. It's great to have it, and it's fun, and it's fun to do it with Sean too, as my partner, and with the Ace Beverage Group, who does like Cottage Springs and Ace Hill and all these really great ready to drink cocktails. So it's been a lot of fun. But you know what? I wouldn't do it if I didn't really think that. The shtick is all great. So we got a logo, Bobby Margarita. It's got a hockey stick on it, and on the side, the legend of Bobby Margarita. So we have all sorts of fun with that stuff. But if it tasted like crap, I wouldn't put my name on it, and I wouldn't do it. Simple as that. I mean, my name over time has meant more to me than sort of a shticky novelty item. So the taste part of it was really, really, really important. So we had multiple tasting panels, and we took like a month or two in June and July to really nail down what we think is a real classic margarita taste. It's not carbonated. We're not trying to pass it off as a vodka cooler. It legit tastes like a real margarita, and you can either drink it out of the can, which would be handy on the golf course, or you can fire it up over ice. If you want salt on the rim, put it on, but you don't really need it because we kind of factored that in to the taste. I'm really happy with it, to be honest with you.
Nice.
Last question, and that is everybody in your family or that you know of getting Bobby Margaritas for Christmas? Is that the only gift you're buying people?
Only if they buy them. I'm not giving product away to anybody. I'm a businessman now. Booze mogul. Charity doesn't start at home or anywhere else for that matter. But no,
so true.
So, thanks for having me on today, and let me quickly give my 2 cents on Bieksa, Chabot, and Sens Nation. You ready for that?
Here we go.
Or do you have no time?
No,
okay,
listen. I've got you for the next 20 minutes.
Okay, no problem. That's good. Oh, then you asked a question then instead of me just volunteering. I thought you were ushering me off stage. My 2 songs were up, and
no.
Okay, bring it on.
Juice is a secondary guest to you any day of the week. So
don't.
So you brought up. So what did you think of Kevin's comments on Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada?
This is perfect. After I teased how I was going to say something about it, the first thing I'm going to say is I didn't actually see or hear Kevin's comments, and I didn't even watch the full game. But it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to tell you about Kevin Bieksa is this: he is a star. In my books, I don't know that there's a better guy sitting on a panel in doing national games in Canada, United States, than Kevin Bieksa. From the moment he got to Hockey Night in Canada, I looked at him and I said, this guy's good. He's insightful. He's funny. He's a smart ass. He's smarmy. He's abrasive. He's annoying. He's highly intelligent. He can also be self-deprecating. And I just think he does an absolutely marvelous job. And I, quite frankly, was surprised when TNT and ESPN started putting together their national panels. I was shocked that they didn't try to steal this guy, because I don't think anybody does it any better than he does. So now I've pumped his tires. On Saturday night in particular, and I watched some of the Sens game. I should point out too, I've never been more of an outsider as far as the NHL goes than I am now. I haven't watched a complete hockey game in the NHL for October, November, December. I haven't had to. I'm not obliged to. So I check in here and there when my kid's doing a game. I watch it. But I will say this. I started watching some of the game, and I saw Chabot's minutes like creeping up to like the insane level. And I was watching him play, and it reminded me very much of the World Junior Championship gold medal game. Was it 17, 15, whatever? I can't remember. I get them all confused. But it would have been the one in Montreal, the final, and it was Canada-US, went to a shootout. And Chabot and Charlie McAvoy waged a personal battle in that game that was on my probably top 5, top 10 World Junior moments I've ever seen. I've never seen two defensemen elevate their game and go to another level like Chabot and McAvoy did in that game. And I came away from that and I said, I don't know how it's all going to turn out for these guys, but it won't surprise me based on what I saw in that game and what I knew of them even before that. that one or both of these guys is going to win a Norris Trophy one day. And when I saw Chabot doing some of the things that he was doing, and again, it's strictly anecdotal because I was just popping in and out in the game on Saturday night, but I was looking at his minutes and I was looking at some of the plays that he was making, and I'm like, oh my God, he has the ability, and it comes with a qualifier, because you can't play 35 minutes and not get mentally fatigued and break down and give pucks away in overtime or whatever the case may be. And so I saw Kevin, anecdotally, I saw Kevin's comments after the fact in print, where he's either the best player or the worst player on the ice. I think he might have said something along those lines. If you're gonna play that many minutes and you're on a team like the Senators that's still not even close to a fully formed team, you're gonna have things blow up on you. But it doesn't matter, because when the Sens eventually get Sanderson in the fold and he matures, and when they, a guy like Bernard Docker matures, and I believe Chabot I think he can be a special player for the Ottawa Senators. And I was marveling at some of the things he did in the short time that I was watching on Saturday night. And so I think whatever Kevin did or didn't say, and I'm not going to put words in his mouth or defend it or criticize it, I think he's probably right that there's an element of when Chabot's really good, he's really, really good, and when he's not. But for me, it's a moot point, because he's 24 years old, and I think he has the potential and the ability to do things on the Ottawa blue line that haven't been done since Erik Karlsson left. And I really believe that. I think he's got a chance. Go ahead.
Sorry, Bob. Is he on your Olympic team?
Go. I haven't drilled down hard enough on that, and is he fully? I would never hesitate to put him in that situation. I believe if you put him in that situation, especially with better players on a better team, a more fully formed team, and give him a very specific role, I think he's So I guess the short answer is, an uninformed answer would be, yeah, I would find a spot for him, because I think he's that good. I really do. I just think he's got star A++ material. But as I said, he's not by even close to a fully formed player. And I don't know that he'll become a fully formed player until the Sens become more of a fully formed team. When he's surrounded by more good players on the blue line and the maturity level of the entire team takes off, then he'll take off. And I just think he's destined to be a great NHL defenseman. And I stand by the fact that I think he and McAvoy can win Norris trophies one day, that it's not going to be the exclusive domain of Cale Makar or Adam Fox, or I would put those guys in that category. But I mean, there's great young, whether it's Werenski or whomever, there are a lot of really good young defensemen, and Ottawa's lucky to have a guy like Chabot.
You talked about that World Junior game in Montreal. I was at that game with my kid. It was one of the most fascinating games I've ever been to live. Really enjoyed it. By the way, Bobby Margarita brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Go to sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot. Get in on the action. They are Canada's online casino and sportsbook. Bobby, you saw the World Junior training camp, if you will, selection camp. How do you like this team's makeup right now?
You know what? On paper, it looks pretty good. It would look better, I guess, if you had Jamie Drysdale. It would look better if you had Quentin Byfield, Cole Sillinger, and Seth Jarvis. Yeah. So you've got 3 forwards and one very, very, very good defenseman who's played in each of the last 2 World Juniors. But the World Juniors has kind of passed Jamie Drysdale by, or vice versa. But the team they've got, I think, is looks very deep and competitive. It's hard to know. You never really know. Wally, you've been to enough World Juniors. You never really know what the personality of the team, what it's going to take on. And It's really disappointing that they had to postpone the 3 pre-tournament games, because that's where you start to really get a feel for what they're all about. And so you were supposed to play Switzerland on Sunday. You were supposed to play, I think, let's see, Russia one tomorrow. Of them, isn't it? Russia was supposed to be the Wednesday game, and Sweden was supposed to be, I think, the game that would have been played tonight. It would have been so good to see that Canadian team and find out how they measure up against those teams. Don't get the chance to do it. They're going to have one game. I think it's against the Russians, and I think it's on the 23rd or 24th. Yeah, 23rd it is. Yeah. So we would know more about this team. So it's going to be a work in progress, but they all are. But I like the team. And I'm fascinated for Dave Cameron to come back and have an opportunity to try and put behind him the debacle that was the third period in Buffalo. He coached and handled that team flawlessly until the third period of the game against the Russians. And people remember that as one of the great collapses of all time, but it's typical junior hockey. And then, I mean, at the time we're in Buffalo, we're watching the game unfold. Canada's up 3-0 in the third. The Russians score 5 straight, and you're saying to yourself at the time, how can that happen? Well, number one, it's junior hockey, and number two, you look back on it now, and it was okay. Well, who are the guys that led the way? I didn't really know Artemi Panarin very well back then, but we do now. Kuznetsov and Tarasenko. And I mean, it's not as if those guys are first round picks and they're not surprises to anybody. But now when you look back on it and you're going, okay, so you're telling me that Vladimir Tarasenko, Evgeny Kuznetsov, and Artemi Panarin came alive for 20 minutes in the third period and blew Team Canada out of the water. Okay, makes sense to me now.
It was wild. That game was wild. Do you know much about like Mason McTavish? He's a Carp guy here in Ottawa. We follow him closely. Third overall pick with Anaheim. He scores in his first NHL game. Big night for him. You expect things from him after he watched the U18s and he led them to that gold medal as well?
Big time. He's gonna if Canada's gonna win the gold or contend for gold, then they're gonna need Mason McTavish to be at the top of his game. I love watching this kid play hockey. He's a throwback. I always want to call him like heavy metal McTavish because at the under 18 he had so much. Everybody was growing their hair back then. It was in the midst of the pandemic and what have you, and that. But he just had so much hair. It was everywhere. It was coming out of every part of his helmet. And he had the big beard. And the guy looks like he's 35 years old. I mean,
yeah, he does.
I don't think this kid's ever been carded in his life. If he was going out with his teammates, they'd say, "You can go in, but your sons over here are going to have to show us ID." And he's you can see I saw him, and I was talking to Craig Button about this when we were in Calgary at the camp. He's really leaned out. He's really thinned out. He was this massive man amongst boys at the under 18, and now he looks a lot leaner and a lot quicker. And he's cut his hair, so he looks far more respectable. But I just feel like when he skates out on the ice, like Metallica should start playing, and he's a throwback type player because he's got an abrasive element, and he goes to the net so hard, and he's mixing it up with people, and he's trash talking people. But boy, can he shoot a puck! And I'm old enough to remember when his dad played for the Peterborough Petes, and I was covering the OHL back then. But no, he's legit, and he's going to have to be a driving force for Team Canada as a top 2-line center for them.
Do you know much about Ridley Gregg, the Ottawa Senator draft pick, who's known as being abrasive and sandpaperish and may cross the line occasionally? Has Team Canada talked to him about that? Was it a concern?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt they're gonna have to stay on him because that's his nature. So I mean those Sens first round picks, Ridley Gregg and Brian Boucher's kid, what's it, Tyler Boucher, right?
Yes.
The biggest challenge with those guys is calm down, boys, settle down, especially when you're at the World Juniors, where the international standard of officiating is much tighter. They're much more likely to get on a parade to the penalty box. But I think he knows that, and I'm sure Team Canada knows that. But he's also a guy that was, just lighting it up in the Western Hockey League. So, he's also going to be an important guy for Team Canada.
Last player I want to ask you about, Connor Bedard, who's Mason McTavish's roommate, 16 years old. There was it seemed to be consternation about whether or not to put a 16-year-old on since Spezza and Bouwmeester in 99. Was there any concern or question mark for you? He seemed to do so well at the selection camp that it seemed to be a no-brainer to begin with.
Yeah, there was no doubt. And I wasn't surprised. I mean, going in, you have to allow for the possibility that maybe a 5'9", 16-year-old might be physically overwhelmed going up a level. And you're playing the U Sports teams, and it's up a level in one sense because the kids from U Sports are 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years old. They're men. But they're not NHL caliber players. Some of them could be close, but
Yep.
but nevertheless, still for a 5'9", 16-year-old, that's a big step up. And right away, he showed that there was no issue with the speed, there was no issue with the physical play. And it's funny because he's 5'9", and I think they list him as 180 pounds. I saw him in street clothes the night that after they made the announcements. He was doing an interview in the lobby of the hotel in Calgary with Mark Masters, and he's got the hockey player body. He's got the big backside, the really thick legs, low center of gravity. You can see where the power comes and why a kid that's only 5'9" and quote unquote would be perceived as physically immature didn't look that when you get the gear off of him. So anyways, he was so good in the games. Again, better in the first game than the second game, but they moved him into center. That's more of a challenge for him. So it was a no-brainer that he had to be on the 25-man roster. He's a guy that I don't know whether I would say he'd be hurt by it, but the lack of pre-tournament games might negatively impact him because those pre-tournament games were his next big test of, okay, now you are going to go up against world-class competition that is a few years older than you, stronger, faster, whatever the case may be. But this kid can shoot. I haven't seen many kids where the puck pops off the stick the way it does with this kid, and how he puts himself in positions to make plays and score goals. So even amongst quote unquote exceptional players, which you got the official designation, there seems to be a real special quality to this kid. But I think I would have liked to have seen him more games in the pre-tournament to try and nail down a spot in the lineup. Because right now, I think he's technically, as you go through the lineup, they're probably calling him the 13th forward. But that doesn't mean anything. And well, he'll forge his way. And I'm sure he's going to get power play time for sure. And he might have a much bigger role in that by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, we keep seeing players eventually that 13th role end up second, third line, or first line players throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
One of the things we've noticed lately, Bob, I want to ask you about coaches, and we've seen, Paul Maurice is now available, and Alain Vigneault and Claude Julien. We could throw in Mike Babcock and even perhaps Joel Quenneville. Are we going to see a big change this summer in the NHL coaching ranks because there's so many, it seems like, world-class coaches available? Will we see Quenneville get back? Will we see Babcock come back?
Yeah, it's hard to say, really. The coaching carousel is a hard one to figure out. But, like Paul Maurice, I don't think he's available because I think the reason he's not coaching in Winnipeg is because he doesn't want to coach anymore. So I would scratch him. But you're right. I mean, people are going to, because of the Kenny Holland connection with Mike Babcock in Edmonton and the fact the Oilers were struggling before they got shut down there, people will wonder, if I say this as the hockey outsider because trust me, I've spoken to not a soul about inside stuff in hockey or anything else. This is just a totally uninformed opinion. I just feel like most of the people on Twitter now, no knowledge whatsoever. You just shoot your mouth off, and yet that's dangerous for me because before people would, I always. People wonder why I didn't give more opinions, and part of the reason I didn't give more opinions is because my opinion didn't translate to an opinion. People thought, well, if Bob McKenzie said it, he must know that this is happening. Right. So, so I'm just a fan saying, yeah, the Oilers were in trouble before Christmas. I don't think Kenny Holland has any intention of getting rid of Dave Tippett, but if a coaching change had to be made, could I see Mike Babcock and, being a candidate there? Yeah, I could see that. So in answer to your question, and I don't know what'll become of Joel Quenneville after he lost his job for all intents and purposes. So, and Claude Julien's out there. And again, it raises the issue too. These guys were all really, really, really good coaches in various times of their career, but they also fell on hard times in different organizations and different circumstances. So then the question is begged, the NHL often gets criticized because they keep recycling these guys. Well, are they getting recycled because they're really good? Or are they getting recycled because general managers need to start thinking more outside the box, and that there should be a younger Mike Babcock or a younger Joel Quenneville or a younger Claude Julien out there that isn't instantly recognizable to people, but as a general manager, do your due diligence and go out and find out who that guy is, and
Right.
not constantly go to the recycle bin. But every general manager's got to do what he thinks is best for his organization, and we'll see where teams are at the end of the year and what goes on as far as the amount of churn we get in the off season with coaches.
Does Bob McKenzie's family have one big Christmas family tradition?
Yeah, I basically pack up and leave and say goodbye to everybody and say, have a nice Christmas without me. Merry Christmas. Oh. But I don't want to sound too cynical, Wally, but you know the drill. You've done it a lot of years.
Yeah.
It's hard, and for all those people that do the World Juniors for TSN, they all, and I'm flying out Christmas Day, mid to late afternoon. There's probably 50 plus people that got out to Edmonton a week, 10 days earlier than that, all the camera people and the tech people and everything else. And all those people, they sacrifice their family Christmas all the time. So it's whatever, but and it was fun when the kids were younger. I can remember when the Griswolds, the McKenzies, went to Gävle, Sweden in 1993. I think Sean would have been 3 years old. Mike would have been 6 years old. And my wife Cindy and I, we did the pack up the family. We're going on December 22nd to Sweden through Frankfurt, overnight flight, 5-hour layover, 2-hour Volvo drive from Stockholm to Gävle, little tiny hotel rooms, crib, whatever, yada, yada. It's all fun.
Yeah.
We actually,
it is now.
There's a lot of really great World Junior memories around Christmas. A number of times I took my son Mike. A number of times Sean said he wanted to stay home with his mom. It was all good, but it's a great tradition and it's a great tournament. And I cynically joke about Christmas, but it's harder to have a nice family Christmas when you're always working it.
I totally agree. And so you look back and you try to, I guess, make the most of it with the traditions you do have. And so, Bob, we wish you another good Christmas. I don't know how much you're going to get to spend the time with your family this year, but eventually it'll all settle down for you, I'm sure, if you ever fully retire, not just semi-retire. Congrats on the launch of the Bobby Margarita. We wish you all the best and success with that. We will patiently wait as we beg for free stuff to be delivered to our house.
All right. I appreciate having more than 3 songs I got to play, some of the greatest hits. And I felt like sort of a Brian 5 or 6 warm-up act for Juice. So I hope you have a real good run with him.
Thanks, Bob.
We will pass on your wishes for Juice and see how this all plays out in the next 30 minutes. Thanks, Bob.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great one. Merry Christmas. All the best.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you. There goes Bob McKenzie, the Bob father, and Bobby Margarita. I always appreciate the time he gives us. I wish I had more time to talk about Bob and the stories he's got in his back pocket, because there's just so many fun things about whether it's traveling or just interactions with certain people throughout the NHL. I know I think him and Glenn Sather mixed it up one time, or at least had discussions one time, but I got to get the full story on that. Anyway, it's always good to have him around.
Agreed.
What are you doing?
And I liked his take. Oh, it's my notes. I loved his take about Chabot. I didn't say much. I just wanted to hear him. I didn't want to cut into the Bob father, and I wanted people to hear the Bob father and not the nonsense that comes out of my mouth. But it was a very fair. It was a very fair and balanced sort of assessment, right? I mean, I think we can all agree that Juice is terrific, and the humor that he brings, the way he can chirp guys on the panel, and the men and women, I should say, on the panel, he's terrific at that. He's very knowledgeable. But it was one period, right? And Shabby didn't have a good period. It was a bad period. But that's and we're talking about a panel of people that don't particularly cover the Ottawa Senators on a day-to-day, obviously, from game to game. So in that sample size, that's what Juice saw, and look what it did. Everyone was talking about it, right? So whether he's right or wrong, it's mission accomplished for Kevin Bieksa in that play. And I'm not suggesting that he's just looking for attention. We're going to grill him on that. But That's entertainment, and it got everybody up in arms and talking about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so, you know how I love to make up headlines? And so this headline, I thought it was genius. I called him Kevin Spacey. Brought to you by BEI, Bonisher Excavating Inc. Go to bonisherexcavating.com. They are helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Oh, there he is. So, season's greetings. Juice, how are you?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me. We were talking, Wally and I were texting yesterday, and we were kind of going back and forth a little bit. And then I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just come on your show tomorrow? And why don't we just have a little bit of a talk here? Because I feel like, while I'm not a guy who really apologizes for what I say about hockey, right? Like I make mistakes in life, and I apologize when I say stupid stuff, which I do often. But for hockey, like usually stand by what I say. But I feel like first of all, on Saturday night, Elliot Friedman's reading me all the comments directed towards me, and they're fucking hilarious, right? By Sens fans, and it shows the passion of the team. And he's literally, because I was working remote, he's literally sending me like clip art over and over again of what the fans are saying, and you know, props to the Sens fan, because there's some good chirps and some good digs, and I dish it out, so I can definitely take it. But
Yeah.
I just felt like it was important for me, and I was just listening to Meth, what you were saying about Chabot, to give a little bit of context about what I said. While I'm not apologizing, I want to give some context because I think it deserves it. First of all, I'm not a negative.
Can I throw up? Can I throw up the quote? I want to read the quote because this is what's got people wound up. First you said, quote, I don't watch all their games, but then went on to say, this is all within 72 seconds, by the way. I mean, this is your guy who's your star player. He's making 6 mistakes that I recorded, that I documented in one period, but you have Bernard Docker who's playing in his 8th NHL game, and he's watching this guy. And I just can't understand how you can either be the best player on the ice or the worst player on the ice every game. And if I'm a coach, I don't sleep very good at night. Now, it seemed that it was a little excessive.
Okay, looking at that quote right now, let's break it down. The one thing that I don't like about that quote, looking back at it now, is the comment about Bernard Docker, because that's insinuating that Chabot plays like this all the time. So I want to eliminate that right now, and I'll apologize for that reference. But what I'll say is the first part of it. I don't watch a lot of Sens games because I'm on the ice 5 times a week. I coach hockey. I live in California, so I usually watch the Ducks or the Kings when I do watch hockey, or the Carolina Hurricanes, because that's my son's favorite team. So, and he watches every game. I'll grab a period. That being said, I watch Senators periods, tidbits. I've seen Chabot over the years. I know we got 14 goals in 2018-19. I know we got 6 the last 2 years. I'm very familiar with his game. It's not like I have no knowledge about the Ottawa Senators and Chabot. I'm a huge Brady Tkachuk fan. I don't think I could ever even say a bad word about that kid. He's a stud. But
Great.
The Bernard Docker part of that was probably a little unfair. But to my point, what I was saying was it wasn't a generalization of Chabot's career, who he is as a person, his season. I was sitting there and I was super attentive to the game because it was our only game we had that night because of the Leaf Canuck game was canceled. So all my attention is watching the Ottawa Senators, who have won 5 of their last 7, the Philadelphia Flyers, who have got points in 7 of their last 8 games. I'm like, okay, like, let's see what we got here. We got 2 pretty good teams. I'm sitting there. I'm impartial. I'm indifferent. Another quick thing is I don't cheer for anyone, guys. I don't cheer for anyone. I don't care who wins. I just love hockey. I cheer for my friends. I cheer for Corey Perry, Andrew Cogliano, Mark Chipman, the owner of the Jets, Cam Fowler, John Gibson. I cheer for my friends, but I don't cheer for the Leafs, the Canucks, the Flames, the Senators, the Oilers. Regardless of what people think out there, I don't care who wins. I just like good hockey. So I'm watching this game, pretty impartial. And the first shift of the game, if you remember, Chabot tries to hold the line. Yeah. Thought it was a little bit risky for the first shift of the game. Puck jumps by him, 2 on the other way. Puck almost goes in the net. So I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, ooh, tough start, but it's Chabot. Guy plays 27 minutes a night on average. Can't expect him to be perfect all game. And then the next shift, he falls down. I'm like, okay, still give him the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe he lost an edge. He'll switch that. Then the next shift, he doesn't box the guy out, and the Philly player almost tips the puck in the net. I'm like, ooh, that's him. Then he ices the puck twice in a row for no reason. Then he tips the puck in his own net. Then Giroux dances him. So you see what I'm saying here? So, like, I'm watching this, and I have nothing against anybody. And I'm like, wow, like, That's a lot of mistakes, so much where like I have to kind of mention this, but keeping in mind, I know what it's like to be a player. I'm not that far removed. I don't like negative stuff about me in the media. So I'm kind of like reluctant. Should I say something like about Chabot's play? It was just so like evident that I felt like I had to, but maybe didn't give enough context where I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he kicks dogs in elevators. Like, I don't think he's a terrible person. I just think he had a bad period. So who
Yeah.
cares?
He
He was
did.
a little bit better in the second. He was really good in the third period, and then he was okay in overtime. So that's just my honest critique as a hockey person. I don't think he's a bad guy. So like, pump the brakes, Sens fans. Like, your guys aren't always going to play perfect. That's hockey, right?
Yeah, and to your
So
point, I think people forget that you only have like 40 seconds to like get your point across on any given point in general. So you don't have enough time to fluff the guy up, and then add your criticism, like you're critiquing what you're watching. That's why I didn't say anything. A lot of people reached out, were like, "Oh, Kevin was really negative, and you got to get him. You got to do this and that." I'm like, I don't really disagree. He had a horseshit period. It doesn't mean that he's a bad player. Just in that particular period, he didn't look good.
And you guys know
so
it's
one
like
of the
that thing where if somebody says 5 positive things to you and 1 negative, you only hear the negative thing, right? Well, in this
yes.
case, I didn't even get a chance to say the 5 positives, so I can understand. I can understand Sens fans' perspective, which is why I
Yeah.
wanted to come on your show, because I know that you're the biggest Ottawa Senators show out there, and all the fans listen and kind of give a little bit of context to it, right? Like, he's in the Team Canada Olympic roster conversation if they go. The guy's a pretty good player. The last part of
Yeah.
that quote, guys, I'll say, and Meth, you played with Carlson and Spezza in his prime, I believe. I played with the Sedins and Luongo. Those guys are considered bona fide all-stars. And
Yep.
because when the Sedins were at their top, they were better than everybody. But when the Sedins were off and they weren't playing very good, they were still better than most people. So the one comment about Chabot, while his top is better than everybody, his bad can't be that bad. That's just another comment I was trying to make, right?
So, okay, let me get to that point then, because I think maybe if there's a word changed, it's different in this quote. I just can't understand how you can either be the best player on the ice or the worst player on the ice every game. And if I'm a coach, I don't sleep very good at night. So I'm assuming you don't
Okay.
mean that Thomas Chabot is either really good every game or horseshit every other game is what I'm trying to get at. Is it a
Yeah, I guess I didn't
misquote?
really mean it. That's more like I think that part of the quote was more like a generalization. Like, I wasn't talking about just him, right? But he was the
Right.
worst player on the ice in that period. And then in the third, he was the best player on both teams. So if I'm a coach, yeah, like that's tough when you're like, oh crap, like, am I going to get the best version or the worst version? And not just him, that's directed at anybody. That's just the consistency battle that every hockey player battles. And we're talking about a guy now who's at the top level, who's the clear cut number one. I still don't like that reference to the Bernard Docker. That's my bad, because that's the only part of this quote that insinuates that he's been doing this consistently, which obviously he hasn't.
And by the way, we come from a political city where we're used to people talking out of their asses all the time, so we're used to it. So it's okay, Kevin. But I think Sens fans got upset because you threw in, I don't watch all their games, and then proceeded to say things about their favorite player or one of their favorite players or their best D-man. And so, as every fan base is, they're defensive, right? And they wanted to fire back at
Yep.
you because they could perceive you to be in Toronto or in Vancouver or whatever. And so they're a little sensitive about that sometimes.
And part of me, and Meth has hung out with me a little bit. Like, I'm also like, I'm a bit of a shit. Like, I like saying
Can
things
confirm.
sometimes and like getting reactions out of people. Like, I'm a little combative and confrontational. But what I'm not, and I'll stand by, I'm not a guy who tries to make people feel bad intentionally. So I'm definitely not trying to
Yeah.
make Thomas Chabot. Not that he cares about what some 40-year-old two-way stud defenseman that's retired thinks, but 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 by no means am I coming at Thomas Chabot. I think he's a great player. He's
No.
24 years old. I think he's
Yeah.
got a great future ahead of him. So let's just make sure that we put that into perspective.
Yeah, and that's what makes you
Okay,
really
here's
good at your job. Juice. You know what I mean? That you're not afraid to air out an opinion. And obviously not all of them are going to appease everybody out there watching. So I think the fact alone that you came on here and was able to address some of it is going to put a lot of people at ease. And I'm sure you're going to get plenty of really positive comments and feedback following this interview.
Well, like I'm certainly not looking for any new friends. Like I can't even handle the ones I have. But what I do want, the only thing that I don't like is being misrepresented or misunderstood.
Sure.
So I just wanted to come on your show and just kind of clear the air of why. And listen, you don't have to agree with what I say. Like I see the game a certain way based on how I came up, the coaches I had. Like we're all tailored by our own knowledge and experience. So that's the way I saw the first period. But I'm talking about one period. So take it for what it's worth. If you don't agree with me, I don't care. But I just wanted to give a little context. You got a great player there. I really like Brady Tkachuk. Like I said, I think that kid's a stud. And I know there's talk about, I should tell him to like tone her down. He doesn't need to be fighting every game. I'm like, I think this kid's a leader, and the fighting and the never backing down from anyone. That's a culture guy. Everyone's gonna jump on board and follow him.
100%.
Juice, you're a defenseman, like over 800 games, if I'm not mistaken. He played 35-39 that night in Philadelphia. Thomas Chabot did. Like, is this just an excessive use of defenseman in a hockey game? Like, it just seemed, and you saw in the overtime, I believe his turnover leads to the goal. Like, is he playing too much hockey? Is even 27 too much hockey?
Well, I had this battle my whole career when GMs were telling me you're playing too much, and I had an injury one year, and I came back and we played in Chicago my first game back. And Chicago's a tough building to play in. It's a tough team. It was like in their prime, and I played 33 minutes in regulation. My first game back from injury, and I went back and watched my film, and I made a lot of mistakes. And I was thinking, I'm not making that mistake if I'm playing 22 minutes. I'm not making that mistake if I play 24. So you're putting him in a really tough spot because he probably doesn't just rim that puck around in overtime if he's a little bit fresher, but he's got no energy. He's like, I just got to get rid of this puck and hopefully it gets out. So it is what it is, though. Like, is there anybody who can take some minutes off of him? There's some injuries with Zaitsev. He's in a tough situation, but certainly you're not setting him up for success playing him 35 minutes a night. That's ridiculous.
Would he be on your Olympic team?
On your show, yes.
I was going to say, careful.
But you know what? I would have Darnell Nurse on there as well for me, just because of his style. And I know some people don't have Nurse on. I mean, you have so many great defensemen to choose from. But I would probably have Chabot and Nurse on the left side. And I mean, again, a lot of good options on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to use the? You texted me a chirp about Meth's game and Chabot's game, relating the two. Would you like me to read it? Or
why? Why
Go
are
ahead.
you guys doing this?
Chabot's first period looked like Meth when he played for Seabus.
So originally,
if I was that bad,
I was going to make it to your. No, but you were a stud in Ottawa, and you basically allowed. You were for Erik Karlsson what Chris Tanev was for Quinn Hughes. So that's a pretty big compliment, I think.
Thank you.
That's the last compliment you'll get from me.
Juice, will you promise? Are you on set for Saturday night's game? Are you in Toronto? Where are you for this weekend's game? Or I guess there won't be any. The next time you're in Anaheim, Can you put a picture of Chabot in the background? This is all we want, is just a picture of Thomas Chabot.
So I'm in Grimsby, Ontario right now for the holidays. There's, like you said, there's no Hockey Night in Canada this Saturday because it falls on Christmas. So our next show is January 1st. I'll be in studio unless things change. But the next time I'm at home, remote, we're already setting up my studio. There'll be something. Just stay tuned. There'll be something, Sens fans. Like, relax, okay? Remember, indifferent, impartial. Don't care about anyone. Just calling it like it is. There'll be a lot of good stuff in the future.
Juice, we appreciate you coming on. I know there was a lot of heat on you, and you came in and to let us grill you a bit. So I know you're a good dude. So we hope to have you back on again to talk about more things you might say on the air.
Well, I'm not a good dude, but I appreciate you having me on. Happy holidays, guys.
See you, Juice.
Merry Christmas, Kevin. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
There goes Kevin Bieksa
Sounds good.
coming in to talk about his comments, and he did apologize for some of it, but he did, Meth, I agree. Like, Thomas Chabot had a bad period. It was just some of the stuff surrounding it that got fans riled up. So good for Kevin to face some.
Yeah, he had a bad period, and you just so happen to have a guy like Kevin Bieksa on the panel who is very much transparent and unapologetic.
Yep.
So he's going to voice his opinion, and he did. And I love it. I love all of this. I love that he came on. I love that the fans got riled up. I love the Sens fans, how passionate they are in defending their stud defenseman here in Ottawa. So I love all of it. It's great. It's good content. And the fact that Juice was able to come on, though, and address some of those comments, clarify some of that stuff. And I like that he retracted the Bernard Docker thing. I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's not much else to say. I couldn't even really challenge him on anything because I agree with everything he's saying. So it's it's refreshing, and I'm hoping it settles things for now, at least.
It would almost be that, like, if you were to go on Twitter and say the Sens will be better than the Leafs in a couple of years, and it won't even be close.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like it's a hot take, but there is some truth to it, right? But I also know what I'm doing. I also know that I'm going to provoke some of the other fan base when I'm posting something like that. And it's like anything on there, right? It's like, it's opinion, and you can agree with it or not. That's fine. I'm like, in many ways, I'm similar to Juice in that I don't care. Like, as long as I'm not offending anybody personally, I'm just stating an opinion. You can agree or not. You know, I may not like your team captain, but I'm still going to be critical if he's not playing well. So it's just the way it is. Yeah.
Let's talk about Thomas Chabot now, briefly, if we can, and that's just his ice time math. So,
I wanted to talk about
that. His career high, by the way, is 37.50 in a regular season game, and it was almost exactly 2 years to the date. It was December 17th, 2019 at Tampa. This was December 18th, 2021 at Philadelphia. He played 35-39 against Philadelphia. Both, by the way, 4-3 overtime losses. 5 games this year, Chabot has played 30 or plus minutes. The team record, 0-4-1. Is the record translate into him playing too much hockey, or am I just pulling out a number as a stat because they've only won 9 games anyway?
I mean, it's okay. Well, that's hard to argue with. And for me, it's pretty simple. Forgetting about all the numbers, you look at the player and you look at how effective he is. And this is something I can relate to when I played. If I ever hovered over 23 minutes, being a 230-pound physical defenseman, I felt it. When I got to that 24, even 23 sometimes, but 24, 25-minute mark, depending on the type of game that was happening, and maybe we had an injury, so I had to play a little more. Yeah, okay, like mentally, you feel engaged because you're always kind of coming off, knowing you're going right back out on the ice, but you're so prone to making mistakes. And your game has to tailor to that ice time a little bit, Wally, right? So you mentioned that. I won't go on a long rant. I'll keep it short and simple. For example, if you're Thomas Chabot and you're fresh and you've only played 22 minutes at this point with 5 minutes left to go in the game or whatever, a reasonable number, you know that if he's going to get that puck along the wall, he's going to be pretty sharp. He's going to have the mind to make a quick decision, and he's going to be pretty crisp with it. But when you start to get very fatigued out there, like anything you do in life, not just hockey, you get a little sloppier. You're not as sharp. It doesn't matter if you're an elite athlete. It applies to everybody. We were knocking on this last year, Wally, when you and I were talking about it on the podcast. I still maintain this. I'm not going to waver on it. That's too much ice time. I don't care if you don't have any other options. I don't like that excuse. Well, let's divert it to this, because so-and-so got hurt. Listen, are you making a push for the postseason right now? You're probably not. You need to protect your asset. And this isn't just about injury. You're doing them a disservice. You're going to have to play the rest of the guys. Trust them. And if they don't do the job, so be it. But it's the NHL. These are all competent players. These are players that are playing at the highest level possible. They need to be able to make plays. And, I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, guys like Dylan Hetherington, I thought he's been great lately. He's a third-line player. He could probably play closer to 20 minutes and be okay. Now, if you're making a push with 10 games to go in the regular season and you're desperate for that last playoff spot, I get it. Play Thomas Chabot 35 minutes. You have no choice. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right. I'm going to throw this out there. When you're an NHL head coach, your job is to win hockey games at all costs.
100%.
And so I'm wondering if because they're down, and so I meant to point this out earlier. Thomas Chabot will play more minutes when the team is trailing than when the team is winning because they want him out there to defend, right?
Yeah.
So when they had their 2 big wins against Florida and Tampa, he played like 20 minutes a night because it's an 8-2 and a 4-0 game. So because the team is trailing, he plays more. So I get that the record will obviously be on the worst side of the losing side, but at some point it has to pay there has to be a price paid for the toll on the player himself. Would that not be fair? Like, you've got to somehow
100%.
try to take care of the asset. I understand you need to win games, but down the road, is it worth it to win 1 or 2 extra games? And I don't know the answer, but this to me is on DJ for playing him too much. But we've seen this with other coaches. You know, Erik Karlsson played. By the way, I did look it up. So Thomas Chabot has played 282 career games. This is his 22nd career game with 30 or plus minutes. Erik Karlsson, at this point in his career, 282 games in, played 25 games, 38 plus minutes. So what is it with trying to run these guys, into the ground, for lack of a better term, to get these victories?
Well, with Erik
Karlsson, I just
Karlsson,
answered my own question.
Yeah, you kind of did, but that's okay. I'll add my 2 cents. With Erik Karlsson, he was a Norris Trophy winner, right? So, and we were on some fairly competitive teams at the time, right? We're always not always, I shouldn't say always, but for 3 of my 5 years there, we made the playoffs. We were always making a push, whether we were clear cut in it or just sitting outside trying to get in it. So that would excuse these conversations, or rather, it would excuse the fact that you were playing him a ton of minutes in a game, right? And Erik, quite frankly, wanted to be out there. I know Thomas Chabot probably wants to be out there. Erik could handle it. He really could. And he had players around him. Like, I was there to support him, and we had some really good defensive forwards as well, so that when Erik was playing his run and gun, riverboat gambler style play, late in a game to get a lead back, he could get away with it a little bit more. But right now we're talking about a team that's at the bottom of the pack, right? He doesn't have the support that Erik Karlsson had. So that's an adjustment that Bob McKenzie touched on earlier when we had that discussion with him. He doesn't have the support staff right now. They've been playing great hockey. I am full on acknowledging that. Nobody can take that away from this team, especially in December. But I still think, Wally, it's too much. I don't know what the answer is, because you answered the question for me there when you mentioned DJ just wants to win games, right? Coaches want to win, and that's their job, and they're going to do everything in their power to do so. So I don't know if Pierre has to say something to him to tell him to dial it back or what. Maybe they don't view it as a problem, and maybe we are just blowing, putting gas on the fire right now that isn't really an issue. I don't know, but I think being a former player, you're playing 30 plus minutes every odd game. That's a lot.
By the way, Pierre Dorion needs to win games too, so he's not going into coach's office and tell him to not play him as much either, right?
Good point. Good point.
By the way, I did look up your career highs in ice time, and the most you ever played was 34-21 on May 19th, 2013 at Pittsburgh, double overtime win, Colin Greening.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I played that much.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, but that's different.
And then
what would a regular 60-minute game would be? Do you have that?
Funny you asked that. So I have the most you played in the regular season is 29-12 on February 12th, 2015 against Pittsburgh again, but it was a shootout loss. So you did have an extra 5 minutes there of ice time.
I'm sure I didn't play a lot in the OT, but yeah, it's still a lot of ice. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't remember those games, but I'm sure I was very fatigued after. And if I had to play the next night, I don't know that I would have been able to. Yeah. So, but that's besides the point. I think we all know how we feel on this. I think collectively, most fans would agree with everything we're saying with regards to Thomas Chabot. You just don't want to burn your all-star down into the ground. And you're worried that this could create those long-term bad habits that you slowly develop when you're always playing tired, right? And it just kind of starts to creep into your game. I don't know that that'll happen, but it's a concern, and it's there, right? I mean, when you're constantly playing fatigued in those third periods, you start to lean on those bad habits. They become normal. So we'll see.
By the way, for those following along live in our chat and online on YouTube, you can see we've put up a graphic of Thomas Chabot ranks 4th all-time right now in Sens in history in points. 282 games, 167 points, puts him behind Karlsson, Redden, Chris Phillips. So,
good
and
company.
there it is. So Thomas Chabot has I mean, look at how few games. I know he's 100 and some points behind Chris Phillips, but he's also played like 800 fewer games, so or 700, whatever it is. Anyway, uh, Thomas Chabot has been elite. There's no question. We would put him on the Olympic team, but it may not be. It would probably be a moot point at this point because I don't think they're going to the Olympics right now either.
Yeah.
One quick note about the Sens, by the way. I know they're off at least until after the Christmas break. The 2 games canceled. Davis Payne has tested positive, or he's in the COVID protocol. I just saw before we came on that they placed Davis Payne in the NHL's COVID protocol. So we don't know if there's going to be more cases because I think it's been a couple of days since they've been around each other. I guess they're coming back from Philadelphia. We'll see how that plays out. We do have one more interview. I guess we'll call it 2, if you will. Before Kevin Bieksa threw everything out of schedule, we had it lined up that Bob McKenzie is going to come on and talk about the World Juniors, and then we're going to talk about the World Juniors, and then we're going to throw to a couple of kids playing at the World Juniors. But instead, Juice messed it all up. So here now, we were talked to earlier this week, Mason McTavish. I set up an interview with him, and then all of a sudden, his roommate, Connor Bedard, is in the room. And I said, well, let's have a chat with Connor. So here now, Mason McTavish and special guest appearance, 16-year-old Connor Bedard. Connor, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Now, I just saw a tweet from Mark Masters. You've probably seen the quote, but it says, McTavish and Bedard roomed together at the World U18s and roommates again on the World Junior team. Shane Wright, quote, Mace is like a big brother to Bedsy. It's pretty fun to watch. Is he your big brother?
I don't know. I wouldn't want him to be, but unfortunately, I've got stuck with him in a room a couple of times. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously U18s. It was good, and we have a lot of fun together.
So, has Mason taught you anything that you shouldn't know?
I don't know. Maybe some stuff that I wouldn't say, but no. I mean, he's been good. Obviously, he's played in the show, and he's very experienced with just Hockey Canada or hockey in general. So he's definitely taught me a lot of stuff.
I don't want to take your time. I appreciate you stopping by, Connor. Good luck this year. I know it must be exciting being a 16-year-old to be playing World Juniors. The very first training camp I ever did for World Juniors was Jason Spezza and Jay Bomeister. One says how old I am, but 2, I appreciate being a 16-year-old to make that team. So congrats.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, Mason, he hijacked your interview. I can imagine how this is going to go. So for you, I guess what's it been like to be named to the World Junior team? I mean, things have gone so well for you from U18s to being selected 3rd overall by Anaheim and winning gold. Obviously, everything seems to be going pretty good. So is this just another piece along the way?
I mean, yeah, no, it's definitely, an honor to, represent your country. It's something my family's always kind of watched during Christmas. So, to be able to, play in those games with my family and, obviously a bunch of other families and people around Canada and even across the world are going to be watching. It's definitely pretty special.
Do you have a World Junior moment that you can remember that sticks out for you?
Probably Bedsy was doing an interview and he said the Steenbergen goal. I thought that's probably mine too. A little like, what was it, 2018 or something, 3 years ago or 4 years ago or whatever. So that's something I really remember. I thought that was a really special moment.
Is it a bit surreal to get the knock on the door to get told you made the team?
Yeah, it definitely was. You just see, like, as I said, growing up, that's kind of how they did it. I think when I'm not sure, I saw a video. I think it was when they were in Czech. That's how they did it, and I saw like the videos. It's pretty cool. And then for them to do that to me, that's definitely really special.
Okay, I want to go back to your year that you started in Anaheim. Seems pretty simple. You step on the ice. I think it's your second shift. You score a goal. Your first shot in the NHL ends up being the game-winning goal. Like, no big deal, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's definitely nice the way it worked out, but yeah, definitely one I won't forget.
So take me through that moment. Or do you remember it? Some people talk about they just black out and don't remember. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, no, I definitely do remember it. It was, obviously your first NHL goal. I saw it go and posted it, and then the ref kind of was like waving it off. So I was like, wasn't too sure, but kind of got to the bench and I was just hoping it would count. And then obviously the refs, made their call and obviously counted. So it was definitely a really cool moment.
Again, no big deal that you beat a Vezina Trophy winner and Connor Hellebuck for the goal.
Yeah, that's another point. Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter. I mean, who it is against, but definitely pretty cool that it was on Hellebuck. But yeah, definitely one I won't forget.
Youngest player in Ducks history to score a goal at 18 years old. You got hurt. I know you missed 5 games. You got sent down. You came back up. You've only played the 9 games in the NHL, the standard before the contract kicks in. Were you told beforehand, or did you hope that you were going to stick around? Did you know you were only playing 9?
No, I didn't know what their plan was, and I was hoping I could, stick there the whole season. But obviously they made their choice, and they wanted me to play more minutes and play down the middle. So it definitely sucked for when they told me the news. But obviously it's their decision, and I'm just going back to Peterborough and do the best I can.
What's NHL life like in your 9 games?
It was great. I really enjoyed my time there down in California too. I think it only rained about like 4 or 5 times when I was down there. It came down in August. So, and then when I came back, it was like snowing and freezing. So definitely a little lifestyle change there, but no, I really enjoyed my time there.
You seem like a California type kid. Is Anaheim the right place for you? Are you going to take up surfing?
Yeah, no, I definitely love the sun. So, I mean, I got to try it. I think my dad and my brother did when they were down there, and they said it was pretty fun. They actually did decent at it, I think. So that was pretty impressive. I think it's a lot harder than it looks, but, I definitely got to try it.
3rd overall, when you were picked by the Anaheim Ducks in this year's draft, did that come as a surprise? And the only reason I ask you that is, I talked to a guy that played in the NHL, a defenseman here that you know very well. It's in Ottawa. He goes, I think they're taking Mace 3rd overall to Anaheim. And I'm like, really? Like, I knew you'd probably be top 10. Did you see yourself being a Duck? Did you know that was coming?
No, I didn't really know. I mean, it was definitely, a nice surprise, but I kind of figured I narrowed it down to about like 3 teams, and Anaheim was one of them. So I thought I had a chance to go there, but yeah, no, it was definitely, really, really cool to have my name called that early, and, definitely a night I won't forget.
Did your family, were they able to make it to your first NHL game?
They were there. They're actually, there's a picture when I was celebrating my goal. They're actually in the background, like where the fans are in the stands. So there's a pretty cool picture. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but yeah, no, it was nice to have them there.
That's such a cool memory and a moment to have. Where will that puck go? Obviously, everybody frames their first puck, or the team does. Will you give it to your dad, Dale, or will it stay with you?
Well, I actually still haven't gotten it. I think they're still framing it and putting it in like they're getting the score sheet and they're getting the puck and all that. But yeah, I haven't really thought about what I'll do. I mean, maybe I'll give it to my parents. I mean, obviously they've helped me. They've given me the chance to even play hockey. So I mean, obviously it wouldn't happen without them. So yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much. But yeah, I'll have to see when I get it.
I just got a text from John Tortorella. Wants me to ask, why is Trevor Zegras ruining the game?
yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a pretty sick play. I mean, obviously it inspired a lot of kids to try that move. You saw it, and the next day everybody was trying it. I thought it was a really, really sweet move. Probably the goal of the year. Anyway, but I think he does that stuff in practice all the time. It's really nasty hands, and he's not afraid to try it.
I know you're a guy that likes to be in front of the net and lumbering away at pucks and in tight. Will you ever try something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely try it. I think. I mean, I'm not sure about that pass. Maybe it's the Michigan, but if the opportunity's there, I definitely see myself trying it.
We make a big deal about people saying they shouldn't be doing this, but I'm just curious. When you're playing at that level in the National Hockey League, what do players around? Did you text Trevor and say how great that goal was? There's always the how dare you try to do something against the rules of the game or whatever. I love it. I think it's fun. It's entertaining. So are all the players in support of Trevor doing that kind of stuff, or anybody for that matter?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I texted him right away. I thought it was the nastiest goal I've ever seen. So, I can't imagine any player would, not say that. Maybe some, back in the old days, maybe they wouldn't, really like that. But I think the game's definitely changed a lot. And, like I said, he kind of inspired a lot of people to pick up, sticks and, play hockey and try that move. So I thought that was really cool. And, I think it was really good for the game.
Yeah, my kid who's 14 like I could see them next day at practice trying that, and you could see, I think there's some tweets today about the women's national team trying it as well. There's all kinds of guys and girls out there trying it. That's what I like about it. Grow the game. Would you say to Trevor, like, next time, hey, I'd like to be the guy on the receiving end of that play sometime? Do you guys ever talk about trying to set each other up for goals?
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say no to a pass like that, but just kind of like I said, just when the opportunity's there, I think it all depends on, what the guy behind the net would really see. He had a lot of time there. They're just kind of playing, not playing pretty passive, and he had a lot of time. So he just kind of, made a play. And, Milano also, obviously, really nice bat in there too. So I think credit goes to Milano as well too.
In Ottawa, we talk so much about the young players they have on this team and how exciting it is. It's got to be the same in Anaheim. You talk about Sonny Milano and then Trevor Zegras, and there's a lot of players now that really make that Anaheim Ducks team look pretty exciting for the future. I know you'd agree, but has there been a lot of chatter about that?
Yeah, I think, just within the locker room a little bit, but I'm sure the media is talking too, but, I just don't really look at the media and stuff. I find it's just, just kind of a distraction sometimes, but, I'm not too sure, what the media is really saying down there, but I'm sure there's definitely a little bit of chatter about it.
All right. Then you get sent down to Peterborough, and it doesn't look like you spend much time moping because you score a hat trick in your first game back. What's the game like as you go back to junior compared to being in the National Hockey League?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot different. The skill set within the, each player is obviously a lot different, but, you just got to, adapt to, that kind of level. It's, a lot more time and speed. There's time and space, sorry, but, it's definitely, we got a solid team, and I think, it's a lot of young guys, but, I think maybe later down the line, when we get some guys back from injuries, we could be pretty good.
All right, let's switch back to your World Junior team and the excitement level. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to play on that team. Calvin DeHaan, who's a good buddy of yours from Carp as well, played on the World Junior team. Did you ever talk to him about being on that team, and I guess what to expect and the pressures that come with it, especially being with the tournament in Canada?
Yeah, no, we talk a lot. We work out together, and we're carpooling together. We're both from Carp, so he talks to me a lot about that stuff, and he's been really great for me. Just give me lots of tips. He's played a long career in the NHL, and like you said, World Juniors. So, any advice from him, I definitely soak up.
I guess if you were to describe Team Canada to me as someone who doesn't know anything about it, how would you describe this year's Team Canada? What's the identity? Do you know what it is yet?
Obviously everybody's, super passionate about playing. Everybody's, working really hard, but, we haven't played a game. Well, some guys have, some guys haven't. I haven't played a game with them yet, so I'm not too sure yet, but I'm sure we'll, identify it pretty fast. And, once we do, I think it'll be a good one.
There's lots of teams you get to play against that are really good, but there is no Russia or USA New Year's Eve game. Are you a little disappointed that you don't face one of those teams until the medal round?
Honestly, I didn't even look at that, so I wasn't too sure until you just said that. So, no, honestly, I'm just, super happy to be here, and, just, lucky to put on the sweater.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this the first time you've been away for Christmas?
Yeah, it actually would be. Yeah. So it's definitely going to be a little bit different, but, I'm sure my family would approve of, what I'm doing.
Okay. I know Connor Bedard is your roommate, and you know each other pretty well from the U18s and whatnot, but does anything he does surprise you, being how young he is? Does he make you feel old?
No, it doesn't really make me feel old. I think it makes me feel even younger, almost just hanging around with him. I just catch myself doing some different stuff that I wouldn't normally do. But yeah, no, he's definitely, takes care of his body really well for a young guy. Not many, even when we were in Texas, not many 15-year-olds are kind of, devoting up their life just to play hockey. And, he's obviously a great player, and, probably going to be, a really high pick in his draft. So, I'm looking forward to see what his career has for him.
Can you get under his skin?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, don't really do it too often. Obviously, we're teammates, but sometimes in the room we'll have some chirp battles. Nothing crazy though.
What do you guys play video games?
We don't. We pretty much just watch basketball, and we just pick a team. Ping pong, actually. He's just saying now. I pretty much beat him every time in ping pong. He's working on his game though. He's come a long way, but he's still just not even close to me yet.
Who's more competitive, you or him?
I'd probably say me, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Well, me.
He said me too. So
who hates losing more?
Me. I'd say me for sure. But I never lose to him. So maybe him.
Do you know, by the way, there is one Ottawa Senator draft pick on there, Ridley Gregg. Do you know him at all? I don't think you've played with him at any point.
No, I've never played him. I just met him for the first time in the summer camp, I guess. And no, yeah, he's a great player. He's he's really, really, gritty and, really solid two-way and, works really hard. So, the Sens fans are definitely going to be happy with him. I
don't want to take any more of your time. I just appreciate you stopping by. I know this is like an exciting time for you and all the guys that are surrounding that team. Dave Cameron's a good friend of ours. We know he'll lead you guys in the right direction. So, Mason, all the best in this holiday. We look forward to tuning in on the Boxing Day to watch your first game. Congratulations and good luck.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And a special thank you to Connor Bedard and Mason McTavish for taking time out of their days in Alberta as they get set to get ready for this tournament. As we know, Meth, there's been a delay. No exhibition games early on. They've been pushed back to at least, I think, the 23rd, 24th. And then we get set for Boxing Day, and as Team Canada gets set to take on the world at the World Juniors. Yeah, I'm pumped for the Worlds. At least there's going to be some World Junior hockey. It's always exciting. So there's a bit of a silver lining here with, in spite of everything that we're all going through. So there'll be some TV to watch, not just kids' cartoons in my house. And I'm looking forward to that. And by the way, it's been such a long show, and we're going to bring in Craig now, that I have gone and got a whitewater. By the way, Farmer's Daughter, you can get them at the local LCBO or order it online at shopwhitewater.ca. But it is well-deserved, I feel, today. Craig, hi, sir.
Hey, yeah, definitely well-deserved. Meth, what was in that mug, by the way? Whitewater in there,
Coffee.
or just taking it easy? Okay.
I have to skate. I got to take my son skating. We're going to a public skate around. He's 4 now, so I got to teach him how to do this. I can't live with myself if the kid can't skate at 5 years old. So before we play hockey, I'm going to teach him how to skate. He's got to push that little tripod thing around on the ice, and that's at 3:30. So I'm looking forward to it.
Got to teach him how to manage those minutes too, right? We can't get him up into those 23, 24s. Genetically, I don't think he has it, so that's good.
No. Hopefully he doesn't have my knees either.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just curious, Matt, are you going to teach him to shoot right or left, or are you just going to let him decide?
Good question. He is a natural righty. So baseball, even with a hockey stick, and I'm only really discovering this now. Like initially, when you give a 3-year-old a stick, they just kind of whack it, and there's no real method to it. But yeah, he's got a tendency now to kind of favor that right side. So I'm a lefty. If he's a righty, I'm gonna push for that. I don't care what side he shoots, as long as he's comfortable.
Instant millionaire. If he can be a right shot, either forward or defenseman, they are such they're like unicorns, as we like to say.
Yes.
If I'd have known, I would have taught my son at the beginning to shoot right. People do this, and I didn't even know this. I would have done the same thing. Yeah. Craig? Well, we'll see.
My sons are
your kids are
one of each. No, but they're both forwards. But one of them shoots left, one of them shoots right. So the downside is right. They can't inherit each other's sticks as they outgrow them. Yeah. So we're paying twice as much for sticks. They don't tell you that.
Yeah.
Sticks are not too bad. Kid sticks aren't too bad, but yeah, sticks are pricey these days. So you got to make sure you figure it out. But yeah, he's a righty. He's a weird. I think he's ambidextrous. Not that we got to get into him too much, but he writes with his left hand, but he can do a lot of things with both. So I don't know. He golfs both ways. It's weird. Kids are weird. That's the moral of this story here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true.
Yeah. Okay, what do we
now
got?
what?
I'm
We got a
tired.
little trivia. Yeah, boys, that took a lot out of us there. That was three and a half guests, kind of, and one pre-recorded, and Bobby Margarita, and then Kevin Bieksa coming in, arguing his case. The last thing we got to do here is just we got a trivia winner from our last show with Yarko. We got to hand that away. From our dear friends at Bonesaw Sauce Co. The question was, who were Rutu's line mates that made up the Century line? He named a few of them, but the old guys that he particularly mentioned, Dean McCammond and Sean Donovan. So the three of them, their ages at the time collectively added up to over 100, and they were all they were out there just causing havoc. If you remember that line, they were Donovan, one of the fastest guys in the world, Rutu, real grade A shithead, and it was great. So if you got that right, congrats to everyone who got it. But the winner, Brad Jones, aka at Maverick_0140 on Twitter. You've scored yourself a Bonesaw Sauce Co. Christmas prize pack thing. And if anybody else is out there looking to maybe order something, there's the Christmas prize packs right there. You can use the code WHAM for 15% off your order from bonesawsauceco.com. They got tons of stuff. They got sauces. They got spice mix. You can even see they got some kind of gummies and snacky. Dude, it's great stuff there. So head on over, use the code WHAM, get 15% off your entire order from our dear friends at Bonesaw Sauce Co.
You know what? I added up the ages of McCammond and Rutu and Sean Donovan. Now it's 140, by the way. So
don't add ours, please. Let's not start adding up our ages, maybe.
Yeah,
that's not going to be a good one.
Anyway, also pointing out, Meth, by the way, all the D, I forgot about this and Alex brought it up, all the D on Team Canada this year at the World Juniors all shoot left. So again,
I saw that. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So how tough is it to play the offside at not just a beer league level here? We're talking the top level of hockey.
Are you asking him or me?
If you're on your offside, if you're on your offside and you happen to be a more skilled defenseman, I find it's actually easier to get those first couple steps in the neutral zone on D2Ds and stuff. It's much easier to jump up into the play. Where it becomes very challenging is in the D zone on retrievals and stuff like that, because you're obviously not looking up the wall with your stick on your forehand. So I don't know the players well enough. I'm going to have to watch some of the games, but if you've got more of a skilled guy playing his offside, it works. But when you're defending, it can be a little more challenging. So, but you know what? At the end of the day, you got to go with the best players available for a small tournament like this. You can't just cater a guy into that lineup because he's on his strong side. I mean, so quite frankly, to me, it doesn't matter. The guys are comfortable with it. It's all good.
Last question, Craig. You got asked in the chat, what is your take on Kevin Bieksa's comments?
Oh, I mean, it's grade A shit posting right there. Like that's perfect, right? You have that on. And I mean, hey, listen, he clarified a few things there that I think were kind of contentious. And live TV, you say some things, maybe you don't get to organize your thoughts perfectly the way you'd like.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, it garnered, like Meth said, it garnered a reaction. We're talking about Kevin Bieksa today on our show, which we weren't really planning on to. So it was good for him, good for everybody. And I think it's, if anything, it probably shines a light on Thomas Chabot that's more positive, right? Like more people are out there defending him. 2 people on our show today said they'd consider him for the Olympics, right? Like that's not a bad thing in the world. So sometimes those panels and things, I know a lot of people wanted to talk about bias and those things. If we're going to talk about bias, it's just the Sens don't play a lot of those national games because they're a smaller market team, and there's more money in understanding the complexities of the Torontos and the Montreals and the Edmontons probably of the world. But that's okay.
So I'm going to take this.
Yeah.
You brought this up and I saw it in the chat earlier about these whole Toronto bias. I'm going to tell you right now, TSN and Sportsnet care absolutely about the Leafs, and it's not because they love the players on the team. It's because they love the money that team generates. So a third of all of Canada, or all the business, is basically in Southern Ontario. It's in the Leaf market. So the Leaf region. So that's the one that generates all the revenue that pays for the TV station, basically. So that's why. So the Leafs have the biggest number of viewers. They get all the attention because they generate the most money. It's that simple. And then it goes Vancouver and Montreal are kind of second. Then it's Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Ottawa. And it's in that order. And that's how it gets served up. So we're like it or not, that's just how it is. It took me a while to figure that out and to really, I was arguing it with TSN all the time. And my boss is like, this game is more important than the Leaf game. They're like, yeah, but the Leafs generate more revenue. So That's what it comes down to. So all I'm trying to say is, while we get
Yeah.
all excited about how we get treated or perceived that the Sens are never talked about, well, that's why. If they're in a bigger market, they will get more attention. It's that simple. Anyway, it comes
There it
down to
is.
dollars and cents.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives to it too. That people like, obviously you want your team to be profiled as much and have the main spots, but it's like, how nice is it that like the media and different covers the team different? Like we talked about that on a recent show, right? With Bobby, I think. And so you don't have like that same kind of mentality where you're going to get overrun in your own locker room every time there's a national game by all these media you never see and all those things. So it's nice. It kind of creates, it's a little bit looser. I really noticed it when Dion came. Like Dion was surprised at how different the coverage was, right? Like he came from Toronto to Ottawa. Like he was shocked at just how loose and relaxed everything was. So there's some benefits there too if you want to really dig for them. But it'd be nice if Thomas Chabot, the assistant captain and kind of workhorse of this team, maybe didn't have his name slandered after one bad period on national television. But it happens, man. If you don't want that to happen, don't have a bad period. And that's a sad way to look at it.
But they're talking about you, right?
Yeah.
If it was Josh Brown or something, that like he's not going to get the same attention. They're talking about Thomas Chabot because he's elite level defenseman. That's why you take the good with the bad, and you take a bad period and you move on. But look at them drop like the focus now on Thomas Chabot, and now he becomes a national discussion. Should be on the Olympic team. What's about this? And now people start to dig into seeing. And you brought it up earlier, looking at Thomas Chabot and all the stuff that he's done. He gets put under a different light.
Yeah, the irony is, I think this is probably the best he's played in a really long time. Like obviously the goals aren't coming the same, but so if that's all you're looking at, okay, he's having a down year. But I mean, defensively, like there's a reason they play him almost 30 minutes a night because he's that good, and they don't have anybody else that's even close. So until there's a little bit of relief there on the blue line and they can roll in some guys that can eat up more of these minutes, and Meth brought it up, like maybe Hetherington's that guy, maybe, you know what I mean? Lassie Thompson, he was playing more minutes than he probably should have too, and he responded well to it. So like, if we're talking about a development time of this team, like let's develop these guys let's not shelter them, right? Like it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't matter. Let's lose some of these games if we have to, if guys learn how to play these minutes, and we don't have to grind Thomas Chabot down into nothing like we did with Erik Karlsson, who now is like, he's what, in his early 30s, and it's like he looks like he's had the wear and tear of 15 years in the league because that's what he's done. So you can't ask him to log all these miles too much right now. It doesn't matter. So let's find some
what
guys
are you gaining? What are you gaining from it? Right? Like we had this discussion earlier. It's like you're playing the shit out of him, and what are you really getting from that? The odd win here and there? Is it what's more important to you? And that's exactly where I'm coming from. I'm thinking the long game. And I know I'm not a coach, and my livelihood isn't depending on win per win, but from an outsider's point of view, I want, like, when the team finally comes together in a year or two from now, or 2 or 3 seasons, I don't know when that'll be. You want him to be feeling, like the Thomas Chabot that he should be in his prime, elite level defender, all-star. That's the guy you want then. And you don't want some beat down player that's exhausted. So.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. By the way, if you can see Craig, he's wearing a Wally Methot sweatshirt, which you can order at gongshowgear.com.
I love it.
Never take a moment to pass up a good ad. So get in at gongshowgear.com and go check out the Wally Methot merch. Thanks once again to our sponsors, which is sportsinteraction.com, bonneshareexcavating.com, and Whitewater, as always. Shop whitewater.ca. Use the Wally Methot coupon code. That is our show. I feel like we're tempting fate here as we continue on because the Methernet has been outstanding today.
It's been real good. Real good.
Like, I don't know the BPSs or the MVPs or whatever it's called, but it is outstanding today for you. So I'm full prop.
I'm
you
just
might be
hoping
the MVP of the show.
My wife's at the dentist with my son, but my daughter's upstairs, presumably still sleeping because I haven't heard anything. So for all I know, she's crying. So this is a good opportunity for me to say goodbye, and I'm going to go check in on her.
All right, boys. We'll see you next time. That's the Wally Methot Show. Take care.